I'm rolling. And
Hey, you made it! You must be stoked after tearing through the competition to be named the Master. Can you believe you made it this far? Come on in. I hope you don't mind, but I invited a few friends over, because you're kind of a big deal. And you're probably wondering why we asked you here today.
To build a spaceship and live on the moon?
Yeah, not quite. We wanted you to be the first to try out Tony Hawk's Shred because you are the best player out there. So here's my lucky board. Give it a try. Hop on. Get to it. Hey, Tony Hawk here. This is your Shred controller. You may not know it yet, but this is one intense piece of equipment. Some very smart people put it together, and it can sense the way your body shifts, just like a real board. There are also sensors on each of the sides that can detect when your hands or feet are near them. The nose is the part of the board facing towards the screen. The tail is facing away. In order to make the board work properly, we need to calibrate it. Place the board on the floor perpendicular to the screen and make sure the start button is facing to the left of the screen. First thing is the sensors. Stand in one of these safe zones away from the side sensors. Now make sure not to touch the board until the countdown ends. Here we go. Just a little bit more. Not too much longer. Great, we're done. We need to pitch the nose of the board into the air. You're going to step on the tail and make sure that you cover the back sensor with your foot. Okay, for the next 10 seconds, step on the tail, starting now. This is also what the board's going to look like when you're pulling off your first ollie. Not too much longer. Fantastic. Now for the other end. Now we need to raise the tail of the board up. Step on the nose and make sure that you cover the front sensor with your foot. For the next 10 seconds, step on the nose. And go. Now your board's tail should be pointed towards the ceiling. When you do a nollie, your board will resemble this. Just a little bit more. Got it. Now let's move on to the sides. We need you to step on the left side of the board with your foot covering the left sensor. For the next 10 seconds, you should be stepping on the left side of the board. Here we go. Nice. Almost done. Great work. Now for the last side. We need you to step on the right side of the board with your foot covering the right sensor. For the next 10 seconds, you should be stepping on the right side of the board. Here we go. Don't worry, we'll be shredding soon. Okay, all finished. You should only have to calibrate the board again if you change its batteries or if you connect a new board. So don't worry, you won't have to do this every time you play. It may feel more comfortable to have your left leg forward, which means your stance is regular. Or it might feel better to have your right leg forward, which means your stance is goofy. Yeah! To get moving, swipe one of your feet past one of the side sensors on the board. This is called a push. You can use whichever foot is more comfortable for you. So in this session, you'll be locked into following along a path. That's how this navigation setting works in the game. All you have to worry about is timing your tricks, and the golden path will take you where you want to go. As you're riding on the board, you might want to put your back foot on the back curve of the board. This will help you with some moves that we'll get to in a minute. Take a look at the bottom of the screen and you'll see the board output display. We call him the BOD. This little guy shows you what your board is doing. When you tilt left, the left side of the BOD lights up. When you step down on the back of the board to lift the nose in the air, the bottom two zones of the BOD will light up. There are also 4 sensors around the BOD which map to the sensors on the board. If you move your hand close to the sensor without covering it, a crescent moon shape will appear showing you the sensor that is currently tracking your hand. Cover the sensor and the entire sensor light on the BOD will light up. Pretty much all your actions on the board will translate to the BOD. Lift, tilt, rotate, and cover sensors. The BOD will track it all.
Yeah, you see that?
So in this session, you'll be locked into following along a path. You will get a chance to switch paths and choose a different route along the level. This will be represented as a group of arrows indicating the different paths that you can choose. To choose one of the paths, simply tilt the board left or right. The arrows will highlight as you tilt to show which path is currently selected. When you reach the arrows, you'll automatically transition to the path for the highlighted arrow. Okay, let's get into the fun stuff. The tricks! The most basic building block in skating is an ollie. That's when you pop the board up in the air using only your feet. To do this, quickly lift the nose of the board by leaning on the back curve of the board. This is why you want to be sure your back foot is positioned on or near the back curve. For a nollie, quickly press down on the front curve of the board to lift the tail. Make sure you reposition your feet properly so your front foot is on the front curve of the board. To ollie, just pop up the front of the board quickly. If you're still having problems, you can always check out the training mode. Now that you've got the ollie down, let's put it to good use by trying out some grinds. Grinds are when you interact with the environment to pull off tricks and travel from one place to another. To connect to a grind, ollie or nollie when you approach a railing or other grindable surface. Your skater will jump in the air and automatically connect to the grind. Once your skater is attached to the grind, you don't have to worry about falling off, and your skater will follow the grind no matter where it goes. When your skater reaches the end of the grind, they will automatically drop off the end. You can also simply ollie or nollie to leave a grind anytime you want. If you ollie when you come to the end of a grind and there is another grind nearby, you will automatically connect to the other grind. This is called a grind gap, and you can chain multiple grind gaps together. Let's learn how to do some tricks while you're in the air. These are called flip tricks. There are a few different ways to perform flip tricks. The first type is the tilt trick. After you ollie, quickly tilt the board to the left or the right, and then back to center. You can tilt the board while the nose is still lifted or while it is flat on the ground. The other type is the flick trick. This is performed by quickly rotating the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bringing it back to center, like you were flicking the board. See if you can pull these off. I have faith in you. Now it's time for you to learn the basics of the manual. The motion to perform a manual is similar to an ollie in that you lift the nose of the board, but instead of lifting it up quickly, you raise the nose slowly with more precise control. You can also balance on the front of the board, which is called a nose manual. For the nose manual, you'll want to raise the back of the board and keep it raised in the air. You see that meter that comes up when you start a manual? That shows how you are balanced. Too high, too low, or just right. The zone in the middle is where you want to be for the most points. Signature moments are a great way to get some extra points and impress your friends. Every trick you do fills up your style meter. Once you've filled your style meter past the line, activate your signature moment by covering the front or back sensor. You'll know you've triggered it right if your style meter changes color and starts to drain. Now, when you pull off a flip trick or a grab, you'll get a different move instead. Each character has some unique signature moment moves, so see if you can find them all. Also, if you bail while in a signature moment, it will end. Hey, no pain, no gain, right? Let's learn how to do some tricks while you're in the air. These are called flip tricks. There are a few different ways to perform flip tricks. The first type is the tilt trick. After you ollie, quickly tilt the board to the left or the right, and then back to center. You can tilt the board while the nose is still lifted or while it is flat on the ground. The other type is the flick trick. This is performed by quickly rotating the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bringing it back to center, like you were flicking the board. See if you can pull these off. I have faith in you. One type of flip trick down, another to go. The other type is the flick trick. This is performed by quickly rotating the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bringing it back to center, like you were flicking the board. This one is easier to do while the nose is still lifted after performing an ollie. Take your time and have some fun. Grabs are stylish in-air tricks that are a staple of skateboarding. These tricks are performed by placing your hand near one of the sensors while your skater is in the air. A nose grab is performed by placing your hand near the nose sensor. A tail grab is triggered by the sensor on the tail. And an innie grab is the side sensor. The sensor on the side of the board near your heels is not used. Let's see if you can grasp this concept and give the session a try. I know, funny guy. You can't perform a flip trick and a grab at the same time. So while attempting a grab, make sure that the board is flat and you don't flick, tilt, or rotate it too much. Otherwise, you'll perform a flip trick instead. An ollie or nollie setup allows you to pull off more advanced tricks. To perform an Ollie setup, position your back foot directly over the back sensor. This will make your skater on screen move to the back of the board and crouch, ready to pull off the next big move. You can do setups using the nollie as well. Position your front foot over the front sensor instead of the back one. Like your Ollie setup, your skater will crouch, but this time they will reposition to the front of the board. Either way, if you perform a trick while in a setup, you'll pull off a more advanced move and rack up the points. Give it a try. Alright, so you think you've got the basics down, huh? Well, I've got a little test for you. You'll need all of the skills that you just learned to get through this. This time around, you'll notice that there are several different types of icons placed throughout the level. These icons represent the different types of tricks you've learned so far. In order to pass this session, you'll not only have to perform the correct type of move, but also do that move while passing through the icon. To correctly time a move on an icon, make sure that you do the move just slightly before your skater passes through the icon. Now get out there and show me what you've got! Different ways to perform flip tricks, so let's focus on one type at a time. The first type is the tilt trick. After you ollie, quickly tilt the board to the Flick. Flick tricks are pulled off by adding a motion after popping an ollie. Once the ollie gets you airborne, quickly rotate the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bring it back to center. If you rotate backwards, this will perform a varial heel flip. Rotate forward, and that is a varial kickflip. The board in the game will spin around in the direction of the rotation. This is different from a tilt trick in that you have to rotate the board and not tilt it. The difference between regular and advanced tricks is the setup. To do an advanced trick, make sure to cover the sensor to... The difference between regular and advanced tricks is the setup. The difference between regular and advanced tricks is the setup. Nollie flick tricks are performed the same as a normal flick trick, except these are pulled off after a nollie. Nollie, then quickly rotate the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bring it back to center. If you flick backwards, you'll perform a pop shove it. If you nollie flick forward, you'll perform a frontside pop shove it instead. Now that you've got one type of flip trick down, let's learn another, the tilt trick. Tilt tricks involve popping an ollie or a nollie, then quickly tilting the board to the left or the right and then back to center. Tilting the board backwards will perform a kickflip. If you tilt the board forwards, you'll perform a heel flip. Foot position is the key to success here. You can tilt the board with it raised in the air after the ollie, or you can put the board back flat on the ground and then tilt, whichever feels more comfortable to you. Play with the timing between popping the ollie and tilting the board to see what works best for you. Advanced ollie flick tricks are performed by adding an ollie setup before you do your flick trick. Remember, first you'll need to perform an ollie setup by positioning your back foot directly over the back. Advanced Ollie flick tricks are performed. Advanced nollie flick tricks are performed the same as the advanced Ollie flick tricks, except these are pulled off after a nollie. Perform a nollie setup by covering the front sensor with your foot, then nollie and quickly rotate the board clockwise or counterclockwise and bring it back to center. If you flick clockwise, you'll perform a 360 pop shove it, and if you Pulling off an advanced tilt trick involves performing either an Ollie or nollie setup and then pulling off the tilt trick. Remember, to do an advanced tilt trick, you'll need to get airborne with an Ollie or nollie and then quickly tilt the board to the left or right and back to center, just as you did before. Tilting the board backwards will perform a double kickflip. If you tilt the board forwards, you'll perform a double heel flip. There are 2 additional flip tricks just for the experts. Each one of these is performed by a teeter-totter-like motion. The first one is the forward flip. First, perform an ollie, then while in the air, lower the board back to a flat position and lift the tail of the board. It's almost like trying to perform a nollie in the air. The other one is the impossible. This is similar to the forward flip motion except it starts with a nollie. Nollie, then while in the air, lower the board back to a flat position and this time lift the nose of the board. There are 3 types of grinds that can be performed by keeping the board straight. In skating, these are grinds where the trucks of the skateboard slide along the rail. A 50-50 grind is when both trucks are flat on top of the grind. A 5-0 grind is when the front of the board is lifted while grinding. A nose grind is when the tail of the board is lifted while grinding. Pulling off parallel grinds can be thought of as doing a manual or a nose manual while grinding. While riding along a grind, slowly raise either the nose or the tail of the board. You can do the motion before landing on the grind or while grinding, whichever way works for you. Let's try them out. Another type of grind is a slide. In skating, the slide is where the nose, tail, or middle of the board slides sideways along the rail. To do this, simply rotate the board 90 degrees and land on the grind. You can rotate to the left or the right, whichever is more comfortable. You will automatically land on the nose, tail, or middle of the board depending on which is closer to the rail. You can rotate the board in the air or after you land on the grind. Lift the nose or tail of the board to change up the type of slide. Different orientations of the board will perform different types of slides. Another type of grind is off-angle grinds. These are done by rotating the board 45 degrees. You can rotate to the left or the right. You can rotate before landing on the grind or after you land. Lift the nose or tail of the board to change the type of grind. The key for these grinds is to have the tail of the board connect to the grind first. Try performing an ollie first, then once you're connected to the grind, rotate the board in either direction. Different orientations of the board will perform different types of off-angle grinds, so feel free to experiment a bit.